Then the President Mkapa agrees. Then you resign.
Yes.
Then how did you face the reality of the business environment?
Yeah.
Because now you were a diplomat. Yes,
Yeah.
you are determined.
Yeah.
Yes, you had your strategy. But then how did you transition? Now, how did you now land? Because you jumped. You jumped from the public sector. Now you are landing into the private sector.
Yeah.
How did it feel? How was the reality?
Yeah.
And how did you begin? Where did you begin?
Of course, when I saw him, it was 1998. He asked me to stay for one more year to take him through the transition from Mandela to Mbeki, which I did.
Okay.
Yeah, and then December 1999, that's when I jumped
December
off.
1999.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I jumped off, and fortunately, as I said, my kids were still at school, and I had a mortgage to service, and my savings were very limited. So, unfortunately, because one of my first jobs was to do advisory.
Okay, that's where you were going.
Yeah.
When you are coming from the public sector.
Yeah, advisory for those leveraging on my network of contacts in the region, for those entities which wanted to do business in Tanzania and the other parts of the region.
Yes.
There was lack of knowledge of the dynamics of change in these markets. So I did advisory to some of the investors who wanted. So I had secured some few contracts, advisory contracts.
Okay.
Yeah, which paid the bills.
So you transitioned as an advisor to investment advisor, something like that?
Yes.
To those who wanted to come to invest?
Yeah, something which I still do to date.
To date?
Yeah.
Okay.
But also there are opportunities to invest. I think, as I said, my idea was to go into the IT space, information and communication technology. So my first company with some other Tanzanians we formed, it was called Namitech.
Okay.
Yeah, with my fellow Tanzanians, and largely to service the telco sector. So that was my starting point in terms of actual business, other than advisory.
Okay.
And then I also had the opportunity to invest in a company called AFGEM.
AFGEM?
Yeah.
What was it about?
It was about a mining company.
Mining company?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it invested in Tanzanite.
Okay.
Yeah. And then later on, when we listed that company on Johannesburg Stock Exchange, it became known as from AFGEM to Tanzanite One.
Okay.
And then we moved from Johannesburg Stock Exchange to London. Again, with my very deep conviction that Tanzanians have to be involved. When we were moving Tanzanite One, AFGEM later became Tanzanite One, to London, I managed to convince my colleagues that we should cross-list it with Dar es Salaam. There was a resistance among my colleagues that, we are cash positive, why should we incur the cost of listing in Dar es Salaam? But my main focus again was to get Tanzanians be part of the Tanzanite industry. Yeah, I wanted to cross-list.
Yes.
Yeah, with Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange in order to give opportunity to be part of the Tanzanite story, because there's a lot of emotions.
Yes, we own Tanzanite. Yes, Tanzanite is ours.
The only country in the
it's
world.
The only country in the world that owns Tanzanite.
And you have this foreign company owning it.
Yes.
And you'll be surprised. And precisely because this system is not cut and made to encourage local Tanzanians to be part. The biggest resistance I got was from CMSA, Capital and
Markets and Securities Authority.
Authority.
Yes.
They refused us.
CMSA?
CMSA.
Oh, okay.
On the ground that, you can't cross-list it with Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange because we listed on AIM, Alternative Market of London.
Yes.
And they argued that AIM was not a counterpart market to Dar es Salaam
Stock Exchange.
But the AIM of London was bigger than all stock exchanges in Africa combined. Except Johannesburg and Lagos maybe. But to cut a long story short, we couldn't.
Wow.
And therefore, we missed the opportunity of getting Tanzanians to be part of the Tanzanite story.
Oh.
And therefore, the politics against our investment continued until we divested in 2012. Yeah.
So the Tanzanite one exists?
I don't know. It still exists, the
Yeah.
local, but not in
Not as big.
in the form that it was
Oh.
as a listed company with a lot of reporting responsibilities.
So what else did you do? Because now I understand you serve in several boards, the board of TBL, Standard Chartered, Malawi Sugar, Ilovo, DSTV, MultiChoice. You own shares in these places, or you are still an advisor in this area?
No. You can't be advising forever. No.
Yes.
Yes, I sit on the boards of TBL, of course. Through Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange, I bought a few shares. But completely unrelated to my directorship.
Okay.
And then, of course, I'm the majority shareholder of the MultiChoice Tanzania, and we invested in other businesses in shipping industry.
Maersk.
Yes.
Maersk, Nyota.
Nyota.
Yes.
Yeah. And I have shares in some few other entities, but I sit on the boards of Kilombero Sugar, Standard Chartered, and others. Also, this KBTC, Kilombero Valley Tea Company, is not well known in Tanzania, but I think it's the #1 tea company in Africa. Yeah, so
Okay.
we are focused on tea production and export. And I also sit on the other boards in the region.
In the region. Yes.
And I'm also on the advisory panel of British Sugar Ilovo, which is
Yes.
based in South Africa. So
And now from
busy.
you're very busy, and
Yeah.
I don't know how you manage to effectively serve on these boards. But particularly, I noticed that you're a sugar man because you are in Kilombero Sugar, Malawi, Zambia, now Ilovo as an advisor. You said you're in the sugar industry quite a lot. What is it about sugar?
No, sugar, I think, it became emotional to me, largely because Kilombero is located in
From where you come from.
from where I come from. So it gives me a big opportunity to pay back to that community which produced and brought me up. And that's why I've been very much actively involved in the sugar politics of this country, which have also been very, like mining, the sugar politics have also been quite intensive.
Intense. Sugar is a
at one time,
very political commodity.
not political, there's a lot of some dirty tricks in that.
Okay.
business, So I felt obliged to help to get Kilombero Sugar going, partly because I think it's a business model that should be replicated in so many different other areas in the country. It's very transformative. The Kilombero Sugar Company, right now, about 40% of the cane comes from the growers surrounding.
Outgrowers.
Yeah, outgrowers. We don't call them outgrowers because, when someone supplies 40% of your cane, don't consider him as out.
Serious partner.
Serious partner. It's part of your value chain.
Mm.
So we call them Kilombero growers, not outgrowers.
Outgrowers. Okay.
The
Kilombero growers.
Growers. Yeah.
Okay.
And now, as you may understand from the media, we are undertaking a huge expansion at Kilombero. By October next year, I think we are going to have the most modern sugar mill in sub-Saharan Africa.
Really?
Doubling their production. So, because the company has got limited land, has exhausted its land.
Yes.
So most of the cane will have to come from the growers.
Yes.
So 60% of the cane will be coming from the growers. So it's quite transformative. If I give you the figures, I think at the end of last season, we paid the growers about 80 billion.
80 billion Tanzanian shillings?
Yeah.
All this money went into citizens' pockets.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why you find #1 and #2 banks hitting each other there.
There, yeah.
There
People have money. The local people have money.
GDP there.
GDP.
And we undertook some surveys 2 years ago. Through the sugar industry, we've also created about 2,000 businesses from pembejeo, farm equipment, fertilizers, and all this, to other amenities, that go with the community requirements there. So there's a serious economy taking place there. There's serious GDP, socio-economic transformation. So it's a model that excites me. And we're doing the same in Zambia. We're doing the same in Malawi. So I have that Pan-Africanism
understanding of the business. Now is it that is the Malawi and Zambia and Kilombero sister companies?
Yes, they belong to the same shareholder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
In Zambia and Malawi are listed on respective
Stock markets.
Kilombero is not. Of course, ideally, the whole strategy of privatization was for the government to get out of business here in Tanzania.
Yes.
The whole strategy was, for these assets which were privatized after they've been turned around.
Yes, to be
and recorded 3 years, minimum of 3 years of profitability. The government was to exit.
Yes.
Through stock exchange. But unfortunately, the government in Tanzania hasn't existed in many countries.
So it has not exited. So government is still there.
Yeah.
So it's still holding the shares.
Yeah. So in a way, if you go back to my original ideas of having Tanzanians part of this economic, if the government had existed on a number of these firms, and allow Tanzanians to acquire shares, I think that would also involve Tanzanians in the economic business affairs of this country. But it would also have changed the narratives of dinner table conversations. Instead of limiting ourselves to michango, contribution for
the funerals and weddings.
We'll be discussing about how about your Kilombero shares, how about
stock, rise and falls in the stock market, and the numbers. We'll be interested in watching business news, and that segment will be more interesting.
So
minority isn't.
So still, Tanzanians are not very active in the modern business sector.
So if I may ask you about the sugar industry in general. And recently I heard, I know it's not a Kilombero, but I don't know whether you can comment, but I heard there was a Kagera Sugar buying some South African sugar company. How do you comment about that? Or do I know
if it is true, then it's a good move.
It's a good move.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've also heard from the news that it's a good. It's time Tanzanian businesses get bigger
to and, go cross border.
Yes.
So this is good news. This is positive news about Tanzanian business.
It drives so many positive messages that first you can, as Tanzanian, you can build modern business, and as Tanzanians, you can even cross borders. So
it's a positive news.
It's positive
in the
stories.
These
are kind of stories we need to hear.
We need to hear more and more.
Yeah.